This is the trader's roadmap. And if your goal is to become consistently profitable and actually make money from trading, then you will have to go from step 1 to step 5. Every successful trader that you see in the world, myself included, have walked this path and gone through this process, and we are now at level 5. Your only job as a trader is to go from level 1 to level 5. Right now, you are probably somewhere between level 2 and level 3. And that is where 99% of traders quit. There have been millions of traders that have tried to walk this path, and they have all quit at this level 3. And so my goal in this video is to explain what this roadmap is, and most importantly, how to move from what I call the valley of death into stage 4 and stage 5 so that you can make money consistently. So without further ado, let's dive in. So we all walk this path. Regardless of whether you know it exists or not, this is the journey of profitable trading. We all start with what I call the call. You see, every journey starts with a calling, right? A calling is something that brings us into wanting to pursue this journey. So for most people, this call may be, for example, you see all of these traders and they show their fancy lifestyle, their Lamborghinis, and they essentially give you this promise, this idea of fast, easy money from trading. That's one of the reasons that some of us get into trading. The other reason maybe is some people just want to replace their income, right? Some people are working office jobs. They don't really want to work that job. They want to experience a life of freedom. And they believe that trading could be a vehicle to do that. They want to be their own bosses, whether it's for large amounts of money, financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom. We all have the call, the invitation. Think about what yours was, right? For me, it was this idea that I could become super wealthy with trading, and the people that I was looking at made it seem super easy. And so that was my call. Now what happens is when you get the call, you have this goal of making money from trading. And so you do what everybody else does. You start to try to accumulate information. And so we go to YouTube and we try to start understanding this game of trading. And what happens is we start here and everything starts going really great. And the reason that everything starts to go really great is because we are at a level of unconscious incompetence. Simply put, what that means is we don't actually know what we don't know. And so we go to YouTube, we start learning this thing of trading, we get excited, we get dopamine hits, we start making all of this perceived progress, we start understanding the markets and candlesticks and all of these things, right? And we feel like we're making progress. We feel like we are going up, and we feel like in a matter of time, we will start reaping the rewards, right? And for most of us, we have unrealistic expectations. So what we think is that in a very short period of time, we are going to make a lot of money, right? Because for most of us, that's what our call was. The call was this idea that we're going to come into trading and in 90 days, we're going to start making $10,000 a month, right? So that's what happens. And so we get on this high. Everything starts going really well. We start accumulating all this information, and that is what I call unconscious incompetence. What happens is usually anywhere between kind of 3 to 6 months into your journey, you may then start to go and put live capital into the market. That is when you feel like you're ready. You start opening an account, you deposit some money, maybe you buy a prop firm challenge, and now all of a sudden you are trading, right? You're taking risk. Now, this is what eventually happens. All of this kind of enjoyment that we had in learning about trading, we very quickly spiral downwards. And the reason for this is because we deposit money into our accounts, or we buy prop firm challenges, and we come into the markets, we start taking trades. And then what we realize is that we have no idea what we're doing. That is what I call conscious incompetence. What that means is that you are aware of your incompetence. You're aware that you don't actually know anything, and you need to start figuring this out. Here's the problem though. This is where 99% of traders quit, because the cycle looks something like this. It's what I call the death trap. Essentially what happens is we get into this area, we realize that we don't know anything. We blow money, we lose an account, we blow an account, we blow a funded challenge. And then what we do is like, okay, we don't know information. So what we do, we lose money, right? We lose money, and then we go for more information. Right? We buy a course, we go back to YouTube, we start studying from someone else. We get information, and then guess what happens? We try again, right? We try again, we risk more money, and then what happens when we try again? We lose money. And then when we lose money, we go and seek out more information. We seek more information, we get more information, we try again, we lose money. And we stay in this cycle for far too long, right? Because we never figure out what I call the trader's operating system, which I'll talk to you in just a moment. And so you can be stuck in this cycle. I've seen traders be stuck in this cycle for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right, of failing. Then because of their failure, they think that they just don't have the right information. So then they try and go and get more information, new information. And then once they get that new information, then they go and try and apply that information again. They buy more funded accounts. They load up their brokerage account with more money. And then they start trading. And then they fail. And then they lose money. And then they get more information. They try again. They fail. They get more information. They try again. They fail. They stay in this cycle. And this information, it can be concepts. So maybe you as a retail trader, like trend lines, support and resistance, head and shoulders, candlestick patterns. You try all this stuff, you lose money. Maybe then you find something like smart money concepts. And then you try some order blocks and market structure. And then you take that information and then you try again with that information and then you fail. And then maybe like, okay, I was wrong. You know, the way that I was reading market structure was incorrect. So then I go and find new sources of market structure. I find a new video of someone who explains it differently. Someone explains order blocks differently. They explain liquidity differently. And then what happens is I try again, I lose money. Then I come back to YouTube or back to a course and then someone tells me it's actually psychology, right? It's my psychology that's broken. It's not my strategy. Okay, so now I go and learn about psychology. And then I try again. And then I lose money. It wasn't fear, it was greed. Oh, it wasn't greed, it was overtrading. Oh, you wasn't journaling, right? There's so many components. And we stay stuck in this cycle for so long of new information. We try again, we fail, we lose money, we get more information, we try again, we fail, we lose money, more information. And this is what I call the valley of despair, the valley of death, right? Because the reality is you don't see a way out. And I am 100% sure that that is where you are right now. That's why you're watching this video. And it's honestly my genuine goal to help you break free from this cycle. You see, I could create all of these trading strategy videos and psychology videos, but the reality is I know that what you need is not more information. What you need is a system, is a process that you can follow that will get you out of this. Because every single trader that has eventually gone on to step 4 and step 5 has used what I call the TOS, right? And the TOS stands for the traders operating system. And what the trader's operating system does is it gives you an actual system, an actual process of the things that you need to do in order to move from this valley of despair. Because once you have a real system, once you know what you actually need to do, right? Not just new information, new strategies, different psychology videos, right? All of that stuff is just random attempts. And the problem is like, it just doesn't help. We just stay doing the same things, stuck in the same things, right? Again, I say this so many times, but Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something else to happen. And that's where 99% of you watching this video right now are. You're stuck. You keep trying the same things and hoping that something else will work. And honestly, I don't blame you because you don't know about the trader's operating system. And it's the TOS that when you apply the trader's operating system, then you're able to move into step 4. And step 4 is what I call conscious competence. At this point, you actually know what you need to know. And so then you can start making progress. Because once you have a system, a real set of a real roadmap that you can use and you can follow, now you can start making real progress. Because in trading, it's not about just doing, right? Everybody says, oh, you just need to do more chart time, more trading books, more this, more that, more that. But you've been doing that. Some traders have been here 3 years, 4 years, 5 years doing the same things, hoping that something will change. So it's not about more. It's about doing the right things. And that's what the trader's operating system is. And so again, I'll kind of explain that to you in just a moment, but that takes you into conscious competence. At this point, now you know what you need to do. And now you can start doing it. And slowly but surely, when you start doing the things that are inside of the trader's operating system, you'll slowly start to work your way out of this valley of death and you'll start to make real progress. Essentially, the trader's operating system is comprised of 3 main concepts. I'll go into a lot more detail. In fact, what I'll do is I'll leave below in the link of this video a free training, right? 45-minute free training just on the TOS and how to master that system. But essentially what the TOS is in very short terms is edge. Your edge is your statistical trading strategy. It's a trading strategy that is proven to be profitable. So you need your edge, then you need your psychology, right? You need to rewire how you think about the markets. And again, there's so much detail in this, right? People think psychology, they think oh, greed, fear, da 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 da. No, there is way more to trading psychology, right? And then you have edge, you have psychology, and then you have command center, right? Your command center is where you organize all of your trading data. It's where you organize how you operate, all of your data, all of your playbooks, right? All of these different things that give you control over your trading. And once you understand these three things and you start to actually implement them, you'll work your way up to conscious competence. And what conscious competence looks like, and I have many students that are at this stage right now, at this conscious competence stage, that are moving their way up to unconscious competence. Conscious competence can be characterized as you're making, real progress. Now, what is real progress? Real progress is actually moving towards consistent profitability. And so that could look like you build a real edge. So now you actually have a trading strategy that is verified with data. That progress could look like passing a funded account. It could look like, 2 to 3 months of profitable trading on your brokerage account, right? On your personal trading capital. It could look like getting your first 400K from FTMO and getting your first payout. It's the first stages of success. And then what happens is when you do this long enough, when you implement the TOS and you follow that system for long enough, then you will move into stage 5, which is where, for example, I am right now, which is unconscious competence. At this point of unconscious competence, trading is the easiest money you will ever make. And I have a saying, and I say, trading is the hardest easy money you'll ever make. And that seems, counterintuitive. It seems like a paradox. And it's not really. What I mean by trading is the hardest easy money you'll ever make. I mean, at this level, making money from trading is easy because you've already done all the work. Now, all you do is you show up every day and you follow your plan. And then your plan is what makes you money. The hard part about it is getting out of this stage 3 here. So going from the cool to unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, and then moving your way up to conscious competence, and then moving your way up to unconscious competence. Once you get to this stage 5, trading is just easy. You literally just wake up, you show up to your 3-hour trading window, you follow your rules, and you will make money over a long enough period of time because you've already done all of the work. And so your goal should be how to get here. And the reality is like I said, 99% of traders quit. Failure in trading isn't losing a trade, isn't blowing an account. Failure is simply just quitting. And the reason that people quit is because they get stuck in this cycle that I spoke about, failing, right? Meaning losing money, let's say, right? Losing money. And then because they lose money, what do? They go and acquire information, right? They think that more information is what's going to fix them. Once they get more information, they try again, right? So they try trading again. And then when they try again, the reality is they lose money. And they just keep going in this cycle. And that's probably the cycle that you're in right now, almost guaranteed, because that's where 99% of people end up quitting. And so you're probably there right now, and what you need is a real, tangible, applicable system that you can use to go from being stuck in this area, which is really depressing. You're putting in all this work and getting no results. Eventually you implement this TOS, you'll go into conscious competence, and then eventually, once you follow this process for long enough, right, and you repeat the process, you will eventually find that one day you just wake up and trading is actually easy. And that's the goal. And that's the real trader's roadmap. And this is the thing. Some traders can genuinely become profitable in 6 months, in 9 months, in 12 months. And for other traders, maybe it takes them 5 years. And for other traders, they've tried for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and they don't see results. And the only difference between those who fail and those who succeed is that they are able to implement this TOS and go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence and eventually to unconscious competence. That is it. So if you want to become a successful trader, if you want to make money consistently, you have to figure out the TOS. You have to do the work of the TOS. And I promise you, if you do the work, if you follow the system, it is guaranteed, it's unreasonable that you will not achieve success.